Dan Lukasik, and I am the creator of the Buffalo Depression Project website.
Can you tell me about your own mental health journey?
Yeah, so I'm 64. I'm a lawyer. When I was about 40 years old, I was working at my law firm. I was in a leadership position, and I was at some point diagnosed with major depression. It was basically three symptoms, really. One was I was sad all the time. I kept that to myself, but just felt no joy or happiness in life. I found myself crying a lot in private. The second major symptom was sleep disturbance. I just couldn't sleep, get a good night's sleep. I was tired all the time. I was napping, but I'd usually wake up at 2 or 3 in the morning and go to an all-night coffee shop and wait for the sun to come up and then go to work. And then the third one, which really derailed me, was I lost my ability to concentrate, to be productive, to get things done, which is a big thing for a lawyer. And then I had to take a significant amount of time off of work.
So, what inspired you to create the website?
Yeah, well, I've been involved in the topic of destigmatizing mental illness, mental health issues for many years after my own diagnosis. But what really happened, what really rocked my world, was about 2.5 years ago. My younger brother, who's 3 years younger than me, died. He had a lifelong battle with bipolar disorder. And about 2.5 years ago, he was found dead in a motel room in which it was a crack overdose, which was laced with fentanyl. And it was just a devastating thing to me because we were very close, especially growing up, where so we shared not only this love for one another, but also this journey through mental illness. He with bipolar disorder and me with depression. So what happened is two things. One is we made a documentary about my brother and our relationship. The second thing was I wanted to do something more in my community. About 6 months ago, less than a year ago, I created a website called the Buffalo Depression Project. Buffalo has a Buffalo community, surrounding suburbs, about 1 million people. And I felt that I wanted to put the spotlight specifically on depression. And I didn't know of anything like it. And over the years, I've had so many people approach me with, asking where to find a good therapist in Western New York for depression. Or I've had several people lose loved ones to suicide, not knowing where to go. I've had several, different communities of color or identity say, how do we address this? Also in the workplace. So there wasn't anything like this, really. And I thought, it'd be wonderful if there was one place, one virtual home where people could search and find these resources and find this sense of hope. So it's got resources, but it also has, I'm going to be starting a blog there, a podcast series of local people living with depression, and then a vlog. So it's really starting to take off, but it's a labor of love, and it's deeply personal to me.
What is it like creating something that's going to help people?
Well, what's interesting is over the years, I've done different things, created websites, much more recently, film projects. There's a mysterious aspect of it because you really never know how people are affected or helped. Sometimes you get that feedback, but lots of times you just don't know if something you've written or posted or a resource connects with people and is meaningful to them and makes them feel better about themselves or connects them with a mental health provider. So there is that mysterious side to it, I think that what another aspect that motivates me clearly, my brother passing away, but also it's a very creative thing for me to do, and I find that that really helps me with my depression, kind of paying it forward and finding meaning in helping others, but also helping myself by helping myself make sense of my own depression, my own journey.
Can you talk a little bit more about the documentary?
Yeah, so about a year and a half ago, it was the 1 year anniversary of my brother's death. And I was trying to find a way to memorialize that. And I was trying to write an article for our local newspaper, and I just couldn't seem to do it. So a local photographer, a well-known photographer in our community, approached me and asked me what I was doing. And I said, I'm trying to do this. I just can't do it. And he knew about my advocacy work with mental health. And he said, you should meet my son. And I go, well, who is he? And he said, well, he's living in Santa Fe. He's been there 10 years, moving back to Buffalo. He's an independent filmmaker who's done stuff for film festivals and PBS. You should talk to him about making a film about you and your brother, a short documentary. So I didn't really put much stock in it. I met the young man and I told him the story. And he said, Dan, I'm a storyteller and I want to tell this story. So, through a series of really unpredictable chance encounters, meetings, other people getting involved, the film was done and premiered last October in recognition of National Depression Awareness Month. It premiered at the University of Buffalo Center for the Arts. We had about 300 people there.
Oh, wow.
And the film itself is about 15 minutes. And then we had a panel discussion about the film. Then PBS television got involved and aired it last October. And now you can watch it on their website. So if you go to WNED PBS and type in the title, My Brother Lost in Time, A Bipolar Life, you can watch it. And this weekend, I'm traveling to our New York State NAMI chapter to show the film and give a talk about this topic. And so it's really first of all, a universal story of two brothers in a family who loved each other. And but also this twist of two brothers who had mental illness. And it's a love story of sorts of my trying to save my brother over many years and being unsuccessful in that attempt. But it highlights the issue of what families go through trying to help a loved one with mental illness, whether it be depression and bipolar disorder, which I focused in on this film. So it's I think that I want to encourage people in the film to never give up hope in trying to help someone, including themselves, to be aware of community resources for those who are either suffering with a mental illness, but also for loved ones who are trying to support someone with mental illness. And there's no playbook for that, right? So family members, coworkers, loved ones need their own support as caregivers, number one, to protect their own mental health, but also strategies, tips. What are helpful things to say to someone struggling? What are not helpful things to say? What approaches can we use to enlist other people in the community to be helpful? So it really tries to address all that in 15 minutes. And so right now I'm kind of showing it throughout the country. I'm honored NAMI is going to show it. And then we created a new documentary, the same filmmaker and I, that just premiered and is going to be on PBS later this month. It's a topic called Travels with George. That's the name. A journey through depression, connection, and friendship. And it's about this really one in a million meeting that I met 10 years ago with this child from a Black child from the east side of Buffalo when I was in a deep depression, and how I found this connection with him and how we have this very deep, deep friendship, more like a father and son relationship. And now, you know, people don't often think about how lonely depression is or mental illness is. And it's a film that explores that topic of loneliness. Um, how do we go about alleviating loneliness in someone who suffers, or how can we help someone who suffers with their loneliness? So it's really a story about that.
Yeah. With public speaking, what is it like sharing your brother's story, your story out into the public?
Well, the truth is, oftentimes it's not easy, right? But I'm a big believer that just because something is difficult to talk about or not easy doesn't mean it's not meaningful and important to talk about. So I really, in a sense, feel, when my brother died, uh, and I was grieving, I didn't want him to be forgotten. And the title of the film, "My Brother Lost in Time," people often ask me, what does that mean? Where did you come up with that? Well, about 5 years before he died, had become estranged because he was going through significant mental illness, and he didn't want a relationship with myself and my three siblings, and uh, blamed us for his mental illness, and that was tough to take, So over that 5 year period, he would email us or text me, and so I could tell whether he was doing well mentally or not. But really, I had seen him in the 5 years, and we lived in the same city. So in a sense, he'd become lost to me, in some mysterious way, like lost in time, because I think back to when we were children and how close we were. And I guess the film was like an exploration of me trying to go back in time and find him and, you know, think about the love we shared and our struggles and come to some kind of meaning about all that, some kind of closure, if you will. And I think it was a powerful experience for me to make the film, and it's still a powerful experience for me to watch the film and then talk about it. But I I feel it's important. It's part of my life's mission. I think my brother who died would want me to do this. He can't be here to talk about it, but I can be, and so that's what really matters, and the bottom line.
What do you do to help your own mental health?
Well, it's been 25 years since I was diagnosed. I mean, it has its waxing and waning. There are long periods when I feel okay. But a big shift, for me was understanding that, I wasn't really earlier in my journey. I wasn't defective or weak or a loser, or, why can't I get out of this myself? So a big thing for me, Mike, was recognizing, just accepting, and that took time to accept that I had, I struggle with mental illness, not just, stress occasionally or burnout or whatever, but that. So it gave me a sense of, okay, this is something I need to manage. And sometimes I'm better at that than others. I've taken antidepressant medication for decades. I went through pretty much 20 years of therapy. I haven't gone in the last 5 years. I didn't feel like I needed that. But I still have my struggling days, and I think that what I'm very, very grateful for is that compared to the beginning, which is like dropping into the cellar, of a basement, a dark basement, and not being able to get out, it go on for months or years, is that the periods don't seem to last as long and they don't go as deep. So what that means for me is I'm able to do my work. I'm able to work. I'm not disabled. I'm able to get things done in life that are meaningful to me. I I have a wonderful family that I'm very close to. So in that sense, I'm very grateful, that I've survived, my depression. It's still a struggle, but I'm grateful that certainly compared to my brother, I've had a much better time of it, managing it. And, you know, the contrast in the film is that my brother did not accept he had mental illness, and he would not take medication. My brother was a very brilliant person. He had a master's degree in vocational medicine. He had a very successful business for many years. But as time went on, and this is shown in the film, the periods between breakdowns got shorter and shorter and shorter until there was no periods of time between breakdowns.
You've been doing so much to get these stories out there, but where do you want to see your mission in the next, say, 3 to 5 years?
That's a great question. I think that sometimes I feel worn out by speaking so much. By nature, I'm a shy person. I was voted most shy in my senior high school class, but I then became, I don't know why, but as a lawyer, I became a trial lawyer and representing blue collar people. I grew up in a blue collar family, so I took a lot of pride in that. So, but I think that I feel, to be honest, it's incumbent on me over the next 5 years, while I do have energy, to continue to talk about this. And I would like to keep making more films, to be honest. And we just made one that is a new one that's going to be on PBS. And we just met this morning about, gee, what would we like to do next over the next year? And also, I think growing the website so that it becomes more like a community resource, and we have a community discussion that you know, mental illness, depression is just not doesn't affect just individuals, their families, but it affects us as a community, businesses, organizations. There's a tremendous economic cost to untreated mental health problems in the workplace. So I really would like to be part and grow that conversation. Uh, I'd like. Uh, I'm going to start doing a podcast called, Local People, Local Heroes Living with Depression. I think, and the hope is to have a cross section of people so that people can listen to these and see themselves in it and see that, okay, I'm not so alone. I shouldn't feel so, I'm not to blame for this. Um, so really trying to come at it from a whole different set of ways. The next film project we discussed is a short film interviewing maybe a rabbi, a priest, an imam, from the Muslim tradition, and maybe a Buddhist, about from a spiritual slash religious slash existential point of view, how they I'm sure over many years of being a spiritual leader, they've encountered or counseled people with depression and anxiety, bipolar disorder. What is their take on it? What does their tradition say about this? How do they help people? And I don't think it's really explored that much, the spiritual side of things. And it's not pushing any religion, far from it. I think there's already millions and millions of people out there who, for one reason or another, are part of different spiritual traditions and might not think of it that their temple or their synagogue or their church or their mosque might be a part of their solution in their journey to get better. So trying to think of creative ways to have these discussions in an interesting way, in a documentary format, in a podcast format. So that's what really motivates me, the creative side of it, and if it connects with other people, that's just great.
So, how can people reach out and learn more?
Well, they can reach out. The website, the Buffalo Depression Project, has a whole page on the film My Brother Lost in Time. And it has a contact, and you can watch the trailer and learn more about the backstory. It also has a page for Travels with George where you can watch the trailer and learn about who's in the film and the backstory. And then as time goes on, I think you can sign up for free and to be, you'll be getting, when things are updated, there's stuff in the news specifically relating to depression. So, it's called the Buffalo Depression Project, but it's also about any community. You don't have to be from Buffalo to care about these topics or have a desire to learn about these topics. So, in that sense, just like the story about my brother and I, it's a universal story. I think I saw something recently, Mike, a recent Gallup poll where they asked people about their experiences with depression, and a third of all adults, I think that's 77 million people, indicated that they have been treated for depression in the past. That is just a whopping amount of people. And so I think a website like this, films like this, some podcasts will resonate with a lot of people. At least that's my hope and my prayer. I want to make it interesting to people. I want to make it creative. I would like to encourage other communities. Maybe there'd be something called the Chicago Depression Project or the LA Depression Project. That's my hope, is that other people will take something away from this and start their own community projects.